Imam received a call from her mother, who was asking for help with family bills. Imam was tired after work and ready for bed, but her mother kept adding names to the list of people needing support. The next day, Imam went to work and discovered her mother had been calling her best friend all day. She wondered how to block her mother's calls without feeling guilty. Suddenly, Imam's mother arrived in town that evening. She insisted on having bitter leaf soup and pounded yam for dinner, even though it was late. Imam tried to suggest pasta instead, but her mother insisted, saying even if Imam was married, would she have disobeyed the husband? Reluctantly, Imam cooked the meal, but her mother said she'd eat it in the morning because it was too late. The woman declined and went to sleep on an empty stomach, making her effort futile. She suggested to eat in the morning instead. So in the morning she sat on the dining table enjoying her meals. Before Imam could leave for work, her mother reminded her about a list of people she needed to help financially. Imam tried to explain she needed to work before she could give her money. At the office, Imam ignored her mother's calls. Her friend visited her and advised her to go home, but Imam insisted she needed to stay at work because she couldn't handle her troublesome mother. Toby's father brought some files to him and questioned him about his incompetence towards a particular project he is handling. This man has never seen Toby as capable and productive enough in handling their family legacy. We see Toby approaching Imam, who is clearly upset. Imam tells Toby to leave her alone, asking why he's bothering her. However, Toby persists and pours her a drink. They both commiserate about their parents' overbearing behavior. Toby then shows Imam a ring, claiming it's the one he'll give to his future wife. As they continue drinking, they end up in Toby's bedroom, where they have sex. Toby's family visited early morning to check if Toby had gotten himself a date. Apparently both parents had had a bet on him. Toby surprisingly announces that he got engaged overnight. His father had doubted Toby's ability to find a woman, but his mother was convinced he would. Despite Toby's sudden engagement, Imam feels conflicted about their night together and the situation with Toby's family. Toby's mother was confident that Toby's good looks would attract a woman, and indeed, she felt ecstatic when Toby introduced his fiancée. She saw her as her daughter-in-law and was finally relieved that Toby had found someone. Meanwhile, Imam felt unsettled by the situation and wanted to talk to Toby about it. However, Toby asked her to pretend to be his fiancée just for that day. Imam disagreed, knowing Toby's mother wouldn't approve. Later, Toby called Imam and asked her to pretend to be his fiancée for the day. Imam argued that he had to go home, and that her mother wouldn't agree to their plan. Despite her protests, Toby insisted, and Imam reluctantly agreed to play along. Toby's mother was happy that Imam had finally found a woman. However, Toby's father wasn't as pleased, calling Toby useless. The situation left Imam feeling conflicted about her role in Toby's life and his family's expectations. Toby's father called him lazy, but Imam stood up for him, saying he's the most hard-working Toby she's ever met. She sarcastically added that even though she's older than Toby, he's wiser than people twice his age. After breakfast, they bid farewell, and Toby's mother was delighted that Toby finally found a girl who made him happy. Imam also took Toby to see her mother. She particularly admired the expensive ring Toby gave her. Toby left happily, looking forward to their future as a family. As they said goodbye, it was clear that Imam and Toby were ready to embrace their roles as future parents. They were all filled with happiness and anticipation for what lies ahead. Imam booked a flight for the mother to go to the village to give testimonies, but I wanted to decline, but she insisted, telling her mother that she could go ahead and give the testimonies without her. Imam then arranged for her mother's flight back home. Later, Imam found herself in Toby's house early in the morning, questioning him about sending money to her mother. Toby explained that he only sent 2 million naira, which Imam thought was too much. Toby defended himself, saying, "Why did you came in person rather than discussing on a phone?" Toby started making advances at but she claimed that it was a mistake and that they were both drunk and history shouldn't repeat itself. Remained smart and cautious, rejecting Toby's advances. Expressed to Toby that their night together was a mistake, emphasizing that they were both intoxicated, and it shouldn't happen again. She reminded him that they had dated a long time ago, but something happened, leading to their breakup. Reflecting on her conversation with her mother, was wary of getting pregnant, saying the mother will start bothering her with getting pregnant. Expressed concern to Toby that her mother would start pressuring her about getting pregnant now that she had seen them together. She mentioned how her cousin was constantly pressured and now has 7 children. At the office, Imam's friend noticed her happiness and asked what was going on. Imam's friend advised her to be cautious because Toby might not have good intentions. Later, Toby tried calling Imam, but she didn't pick up. Despite her reservations, Toby went to Imam's house unawares as he surprised her with breakfast. What is he doing here? Imam questioned Toby's presence. She expressed to him that she couldn't give him another chance as he had previously broken her trust. She reminded him of how he stole her pitch, leading to their fallout, and emphasized that there was no possibility of reconciliation. In the meantime, Imam's best friend and colleague arrived at the office and informed her about a new company called Dynamite that was funding startups. They discussed how their company had a chance to win, but Imam expressed caution. She mentioned that Dynamite are willing to fund startups and would be a great opportunity for them. Imam's friend agreed that Toby might use the same strategy he stole from her to win this contract, so she should make sure it doesn't conflict with theirs. Toby is starting a new company, but what makes you think he won't use the same strategy to win that contract? The friend questioned her optimism. She remained cautious, remembering how Toby had caused her heartbreak in the past. Despite her reservations, Imam decided to visit Toby's house early in the morning to confront him about their past. She wanted to offer closure and discuss the possibility of moving on. However, she was unsure if Toby would repeat his past behavior, especially since it was his idea that led to their fallout. Imam's best friend cautioned her about getting involved with Toby again, especially in business matters. She reminded Imam of the potential risks and advised her to be careful in dealing with Toby once more. Despite her reluctance, Toby expressed interest in helping her win the contract. He promised not to use the pitch. He reassured his friend that they were back on good terms and that Imam had forgiven him, so he shouldn't use Imam's strategy because he has given his word. Back at the office, Imam was content with the progress. However, her mother called again, asking for money for the extended family. Imam reminded her mother that she had already given her $100K and couldn't afford to give more. Her mother suggested asking Toby for money, but Imam refused. Imam firmly stated that she wouldn't accept money from Toby, fearing it would complicate their relationship. She also mentioned that her soon-to-be father-in-law was waiting for her, indicating that she was focused on her future with Toby. The person referring to Imam as a gold digger may be projecting their own insecurities or biases onto her. Imam is not solely motivated by money but is instead focused on her own independence and self-reliance. It's unfair to label her as such without understanding her true intentions. In the scenario described, Imam's actions suggest that she values her autonomy and doesn't want to be dependent on anyone, including Toby. She refuses Toby's offer of financial support, indicating that she wants to stand on her own 2 feet rather than rely on him for her livelihood. When Imam confronts her mother about potentially frustrating her, it demonstrates her assertiveness and willingness to defend herself against unfair accusations. Imam refuses to be manipulated or controlled, asserting her right to make her own decisions and live life on her own terms. Imam also discusses her determination to no longer be burdened by financial requests from her mother and plans to be financially independent from now on. Imam and Toby appear to be making plans for their future together. They both called the overbearing mother to order. Toby says, "I will give the youth jobs to do in my company to cater for the welfare of their own parents. My wife will no longer be responsible for them." Overall, the tone suggests a hopeful and optimistic resolution between and the mother. The next day both were preparing to go to work when Toby suggested move over to the house, but she said, "My mother will kill me." Toby replied, "Your mother will be happy knowing her." Jokingly said that she would rather pack my bags to this place. Toby realizes that they lost a contract because his partner used the same strategy that advised against. He becomes disappointed in his friend. Toby tries to explain the situation to but he doesn't respond and remains disappointed. As a result, feels lonely and unhappy in the office, considering what happened between them. It seems like there may be unresolved tension or conflict between Toby and related to their business decisions. Toby explained to her that using that strategy wasn't Toby's idea and that he never wanted to use it. Then, she said, "Tell your father that he doesn't need to pay me to leave you." After that, Toby went to confront the friend about something between them, possibly related to disobeying a request. It seems there might be some tension or disagreement between Toby and his friend over this issue. From what I understand, Toby decided to stand up to his father and assert his independence. He expressed that he would no longer be controlled by his family and would run his own company instead. Later, and her friend received a parcel from the office, which contained an envelope inside. They discovered that Toby had appointed as the CEO of his new company. Both and her friend were happy about this development. Felt especially happy and went to visit Toby after she had closed from work. Toby reassures her that there is nothing important to him he then went to take the previous ring and propose to this time for real. She also accepted the proposal and both made out.